Hello and welcome to The Common Creative. My name's Chris Meredith.
And my name's Paul Fairweather.
And we're on a mission to lift the lid on creativity at work and beyond. And this is a little conversation between Paul and I. Paul, I know you want to discuss a really exciting book that you recently read.
Yeah, listen, I'm rereading. In fact, I've read it, just finished it the second time, and I've actually started a third time. This is how good it is. It's Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, Advice on Life and Writing. Now, it's targeted towards fiction, it talks about characters and plots and things like that. But the reality is that, as she says, the tagline is advice for writing and life. And she is so funny, incredible wit about her. And she goes, she talks about these things. And for instance, one sort of story that she tells, because it's all stories, about her life. But she says that, if you're writing, and you're writing about a character who happens to be your spouse, and they're a political figure or, a therapist or something, so they're a public figure, you have to be very careful, if you say awful things about them, because otherwise your publisher will get sued. And so, so what I suggest you do is leave out, the bit about, him dressing up in the French maid's outfit, all that terrible incident with the bill cream. And he goes, and so just change them and, morph the characters. And she said, if you're really, worried, just throw in a tinny little penis and anti-Semitic learnings, and you'll probably be okay. The person's not going to turn around and say, so that's just a bit, that's sort of one of the funny sort of ways that she puts things together. But it's also, why we write and how we write and about publishing, and it doesn't really matter about publishing and how being published doesn't solve your problems and it doesn't make you a better person. And how we write to mirror people but most importantly, and it's really funny because I sort of knew this and I didn't know this, she talks about the characters. When you build a character, you're really telling all your deepest, darkest secrets and your authenticity, because those things that you think, oh my God, I'm the only person who thinks that, that's the thing that people read and go, oh my God, someone else thinks that.
Yes. Yeah.
And whilst we try to do that in our non-fiction writing as well, it's easy to do in fiction because it's not us. It's, it's our characters, and so look, I just absolutely loved her story. I have it on audio book as well, on Audible. So I read it and listen to it. She narrates it. She's very funny. I haven't read it, and she's got some non-fiction and fiction books. I want to read those next because she's hilarious.
And what's her background? Anne Lamott?
She's a writer. So her dad was a writer, and she says, I just wish my dad had a normal job and put on a necktie and went to an office, and she took him a long time to realize that he actually wasn't
a regular
without a job or mentally ill, but he was actually a writer and that was his job. And he had all these writing friends, and they'd come around and and drink and be loud and fall asleep in the tomato soup. And she said, but she was because she was different, and she learned to write because, as you said, she was odd looking. And she developed a sense of humor because people used to laugh at her because she looked so odd. She said she used to walk around with her shoulders inside her ears like Richard Nixon. And so she became a writer, like in her 20s. She always wanted to be a writer. She started writing when she was 8. And she it really is just amazing. It's it's often touted as one of the sort of go-to for learning, how to write. But look, I can highly recommend it.
I'm struck by the subtitle, Advice on Life and Writing, because I can absolutely see the connection. I was thinking of that quote, every portrait is a self-portrait. When you're writing fiction, you're really writing about yourself. And as you said, you write something, you think, I'm the only person that thinks that. And the reader suddenly goes, no, I identify with that. Where do the life lessons come out, or is it just implied in that?
Oh, look, she does. I suppose it's just morphed into one. She doesn't go, this is for writing, this is for life, because I think it's about self-discovery. It's about finding a place in the world. So the reality is that, you could substitute writing fiction, for writing non-fiction. You could, for writing blogs, for painting, for any creative pursuit. Anywhere where you're being yourself and you're being self-reflective and putting yourself out of the world, which is basically, when we're breathing,
Yes.
or when we're awake, and, unless you're, of course, you sleepwalk, and then it's maybe when you're asleep as well. But it's really, it's just really good. And, it's got some great things about, writing, about story. It's got stuff about plot and characters. But it's also got, these incredible insights. And as I keep on saying, she's very funny.
There's something, I think there's a power in humour, be it humorous writing or humorous storytelling, because the great jokes often have a powerful truth inside them. It's why we laugh at them, is that we're learning something about ourselves, or we're discussing something that we daren't say in normal conversation, but a piece of humour unlocks something. And so something funny often, I think, is much more powerful, in a way, much more insightful than something that's just straight.
Yeah, look, exactly. I'll read you a piece, Chris. I'll read a piece I really liked. And she talked about radio station KFKD, which was K fucked. Okay, is a station. It's so out of the right speaker in your inner ear will come the endless stream of self-aggrandizement, the recitation of one's specialness, of how much more open and gifted and brilliant and knowing and understood and humble one is. Out of the left speaker will be the rap songs of self-loathing, the list of all the things one doesn't do well, or all the mistakes one has made today and over an entire lifetime, the doubt, the assertion that everything that one touches turns to shit. The one doesn't do relationships well. The one is in every way a fraud, incapable of selfless love, that has no talent or insight, and on and on and on. You might as well have heavy metal music piped in through headphones while you're trying to get your work done. You have to get things quiet in your head so you can hear your characters and let them guide your story. So like that first bit, just applies to absolutely everything. This thing about, our superiority complex and our inferiority complex, and how fragile the superiority complex is, because, I'm greater than that one says, oh, that was shit. And you go, oh my God, that was shit, And so, so that, look, as I said, I can't recommend it enough. We both teach storytelling, and, she is a master, and this is the gold class path to learning about storytelling. And it is fiction, but the same thing applies, because most of the stuff she talks about is writing about events and people in your life. So it's really, it's really fictionalized non-fiction.
I have a feeling you're apologizing for being fiction, but I often think there's more truth in fiction, truth about people, the human condition, than there is in non-fiction. So I absolutely understand why it'd be fiction. Why is it called Bird by Bird?
The reason it's called Bird by Bird, her brother was a procrastinator, and he was doing an assignment, which was a 3-month assignment at school. I think they might have been in a holiday college or something. He had this assignment then due the next day, and he had all these bird books. It was an assignment about bird, and all these bird books spread out, and he was having a total meltdown, just totally, lost the whole thing. And his father, who was a writer, said, okay, son, what you got to do is take it bird by bird.
Great.
And that's it. That's where the title of the book comes from. And I think it's absolutely fantastic.
It could be word by word, could be page by page.
Word, but, it's just this whole thing in this incredibly distracted life, just take one project, one step, one part at a time. And it's such a great thing because, and she doesn't say whether he got the assignment in or whether he got a good mark or a bad mark, but, they're stuck in her brain, this thing of one
bird at a time.
So, Chris, so I just really wanted to take the opportunity to share that with you, this story, this book recommendation by Anne Lamott. We'll put the link to Amazon, but Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird.
Great. Thanks for sharing us with us, Paul. And if you enjoy this, please share the news about the Common Creative Podcast. Please love you to spread the word and help understand creativity in the workplace and beyond. See you next week.